on locations throughout the world.
Standing passengers, please do not lean against the doors.
Picture goers, we bring to you new films of interest.
Chicago in State is next. Doors open on the left.
The miracle of the motion picture.
Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices.
Chicago's a nice town if you're looking for pizza.
Welcome to 4 Stars, a Chicago film podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies set in Chicago.
Each episode, we'll be discussing a different movie that's set in or was filmed in the Chicago area, its cultural/historic relationship to Chicago, and whether it's a good representation of the city.
We want to figure out what makes Chicago movies different from movies about other cities, and to answer the question of what a Chicago movie even is. I am one of your hosts, Jeremy Martyr. I'm a filmmaker and a manager at the Music Box Theater.
And I'm Paco Alvarez. I'm a journalist based in Chicago. And on today's episode, we will be discussing 1991's Backdraft, directed by Ron Howard, starring Billy Baldwin, Kurt Russell, Robert De Niro, Scott Glenn, Donald Sutherland, Jennifer Jason Leigh, J.T. Walsh.
Many good faces, character actors.
Yes.
And later in the episode, we'll be joined by Assistant Technical Director and Repertory Programmer Rebecca Lyon to talk a little bit more about Backdraft, the 70mm festival at the Music Box Theater, where Backdraft will be playing on the 17th and the 18th of August. So if you want to see the movie, check it out then.
Yes, it'll be a fun screening. I should be at a wedding for one of them, but hopefully I can make it to the second one. I think it'll look really good on 70.
I'm going to be introing the one on Sunday.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I will not be there, but you will. You can say hi to Jeremy afterwards. If you yell fire during the movie, you'll get a free popcorn.
They actually let you do that for that one.
Yeah. A firefighter will come in and spray you. So this movie
cool you down. I mean, Jesus.
So Backdraft, as I mentioned, came out in 1991. Its release date, I think it went wide on May 24th, 1991. So I did some research about what was going on at the city at the time.
Yeah, tell us about what was going on.
So because this movie has to do a bit with corruption, as a lot of things in Chicago do, I decided, instead of going deep on one article, I decided to pick 3 little tales of corruption going around the city that were all reported on May 24th. So the first one has a really great headline and really great lead, so I'm just going to read them both out. It's from the Chicago Tribune. Cicero's own Gulf War battle investigated. While U.S. aircraft unleashed another relentless bombing of Iraq President Saddam Hussein's forces last January, a cadre of Cicero police officers was inflicting its own attack on the Iraq leader in a garage in the west suburb. So essentially, in Cicero, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago where I grew up, in fact, a group of Cicero police officers had this garage where they would like
target practice?
Yeah, do target practice. And they put up a photo of Saddam Hussein and were shooting at it.
Okay.
Throughout their practice. And it was on Super Bowl Sunday. And while they were shooting Saddam Hussein in this garage, a bullet went through the garage and hit a random woman while she was just like sitting on her couch, probably watching the Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
And this didn't make headlines at the time because Cicero police kind of like did a low-key cover-up. So this article came out when after like the FBI, like a joint task force of the FBI and Cook County State's attorney started like investigating the occurrence, and essentially it was kind of like the police didn't really look into it. It kind of just like became like lore around the station. And apparently the thing that really tipped off the FBI was the fact that the garage that the police did the practice shooting in mysteriously was torn down.
Oh my God.
So it's just like a full-on cover-up.
Yeah. This was they talked to one investigator who asked not to be identified, and he characterized the Chicago or the police department's handling the case as an obvious cover-up.
Yes. It's pretty funny. And one of the police, I'm not going to name him because I didn't look into whether or not he was convicted or not, but he had previously, like a decade before, had been indicted in connection with the theft of 354 television sets from a warehouse. And another reason why I won't name him is because I believe his wife is currently a politician in Cicero. So this guy's still around. He's not a police. He retired at the end of the decade of the 90s.
He's just one bad apple, and they got rid of it.
Yes, exactly. And then now there's no more corruption, and Cicero is completely fine. So that was one cover-up in this movie for the cover-ups.
Right. Little Tales of Corruption, by the way, sounds like an Aki Kaurismäki movie. I just want to say
Yeah,
that. Sorry, keep going.
So the other one, this other one is from the Sun-Times. 37 sanitation employees in the first ward downtown were fired because a lot of
fired.
Yeah, they were fired because most of them seemed to have been only working 2 hours a day. So they were just getting paid to like twiddle their thumbs. Actually, well, not just twiddle their thumbs. A lot of them were moonlighting, going to the racetrack, and in one case, allegedly committing a robbery while he was supposed to be like on the clock. Yeah. So that was another. It didn't explain like how exactly they got away with this. I guess there must have been some kind of graft going on. The fact that like 37 employees, I don't know. It feels like probably a leftover of like, because this was Daly Jr.'s time. You know, the Chicago machine from Daly Sr. had been kind of like dying down for a while. This was probably like leftover of like when you would just like hire random guys to just hire random guys in your ward in order to like make them loyal. Like I feel like it must have been like some leftover from that.
Right. Have you ever had a job where you had to self-report your hours?
You mean? I mean, right now I don't. I'm salaried now, so I don't.
You don't report your hours.
Yeah, I don't report.
I've never committed robbery in a Wisconsin jewel theft, as this article goes into pretty, deep detail about $188,000 in jewelry. But any job where I've had to report my own hours, like when I'm like not working, it stresses me out. I'm like, they're gonna find out that I like ate a sandwich during not my lunch hours.
That's funny. No, I guess I've definitely had jobs where I was the one working like 2 hours a week or 2 hours a shift.
A shift.
Yeah. Just like I worked at a restaurant for a while where it was like in a terrible location. And so
that's different though.
Yeah. Most days I was just like reading or watching movies.
You are on the clock in case someone walks in.
That's true.
That's not the same thing as
these guys
literally working 2 hours and reporting 8. And then also,
yeah, you're right.
But that's kind of hustle and grind culture that they were, reporting 8 hours, but also committing thievery.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to know maybe I'll look into it, like what the investigation discovered. Like, why is it like? I think they ended up being replaced by like a handful of guys. So I'm guessing it was just like you didn't need that many guys like doing actual street sweeping at the time,
right?
And then the third little tale of corruption. It's not corruption so much as it's corruption, but it's not like as big of a deal. Yeah, it's not as big of a deal, but essentially, it's another Sun-Times article where some CTA executives were found to have used CTA transit supervisors to watch their cars while they were illegally parked during basketball games.
During bowl games.
Yes. So essentially, like they would drive to United Center, and instead of just like parking in the parking lot, they would like illegally street park around there, and they would have CTA employees watch out for the cars to like make sure that they weren't like stopped by like ticketed.
Sure.
And they essentially were using CTA employees as like valets.
Cool. I like that.
That's fine with you.
That's good. That's good kind of.
And then when they were caught, they were just like, oh, actually, like those employees were already there. They were like watching out for, like they were trying to like coordinate the buses to like pick people up at United Center, essentially. But then this is why you need to fund journalism. Some Sun-Times employees went to the stadium and just like watched them, and they were just like watching for the cars. Like they were.
That was their whole job.
Yeah, they were.
So the state was paying for them to be valets for these people.
Yes. And one of the CTA executives said, "I only do it when I'm running late."
That's hilarious. You can't miss the whole first quarter, and this is during the Jordan era.
Yes.
This is like the first year of their championship was 1991.
Yeah, that's true.
So
no,
but I don't like that it's executives.
Yeah.
If this was like other CTA employees doing it for each other,
Yes.
that's different.
But it's pretty funny.
That is so Chicago.
Yes. So that's what was going on in Chicago at the time. Just like these little sprinkles of corruption.
We need like a stinger that's like little tales of corruption.
On this week's Tales of Corruption.
Yeah. And now to our interview with Music Box programmer and projectionist Rebecca Lyon. Welcome to the podcast, Rebecca Lyon, Assistant Technical Director and Repertory Programmer at the Music Box Theater and member of Chicago Film Society. Welcome, Rebecca. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Hi, guys.
We just wanted to begin this conversation just talking a little bit about your connection to the city of Chicago, how you came here, and how you sort of started as a projectionist.
I came here for school, for college in 2002. And I'm from upstate New York originally, but I had some family here. And gosh, I learned how to do projection in school at Doc Films at the University of Chicago, which is a kind of an amazing place. It's one of the oldest film societies in the country that is still active. And they will take on anyone as a volunteer. And if you go there, even if you're not at the University of Chicago, you can be anyone, and you can go there and volunteer and learn how to do programming and projection, and different aspects of, jobs that you might have at a movie theater. It's kind of an incredible place. So I did like a sort of apprenticeship with somebody that had more experience than me, 1 day a week running film. I was not good at it. But when I graduated from college and I had zero prospects, thank you, University of Chicago, I had no idea what I was doing, and no plan. And I started looking for projection jobs, which I didn't really get. But I was working in movie theaters, and eventually kind of got myself in the projection booth at the Gene Siskel Film Center and at the Music Box Theater. And I really learned how to do it there. And I had a very depressing stint at Landmark's entry, not as a projectionist, but
you were concessionaire there?
Yes.
I didn't know this. That's so interesting. There's really a lineage of
terrible job.
That's so interesting. We sort of we're having you on today to talk about 70 millimeter. We're heading into, as we speak, they are starting the 70 millimeter festival at the Music Box Theater, which you helped program. Could you just tell us a little bit about the differences between 35 millimeter and 70 millimeter in your view?
Sure. 70 millimeter it's kind of fun because I think it gets people interested in film sometimes that might not be interested in it. I personally prefer 35 millimeter. It's just easier. And it's a very beautiful format, but 70 millimeter is kind of this big, exciting thing that people like to talk about. And every year at the Music Box, we do a 70 millimeter festival. 35 millimeter is the standard film format. So basically up until about 2011, every movie theater that was showing movies was showing 35 millimeter. It was, if you saw movies as a kid, they were all on 35 until things switched over to digital. 70 millimeter is not really a standard format. It's like a specialty kind of spectacle format. So if a movie came out, like say Backdraft, they would have made, many hundreds of 35 millimeter prints of it to play around the country. And then that film also got a 70 millimeter release, but they probably only made a few of those prints. So it's kind of a special thing that only, even back in the heyday of 70 millimeter, only a few theaters would have been able to show it. And it's physically larger. So if you think about a strip of film, it's 35 millimeters wide. A 70 millimeter film strip it's twice as big, but actually the image size is more than twice as big because 35 millimeter has a soundtrack that takes up some of the space. So the image quality is actually quite amazing. You have more information in the picture. There's more depth. It's sharper. There's something called dynamic range, which is really incredible in 70 millimeter. And that's kind of like the space between the blacks and the whites. If you think about like a gradient, somebody once explained it to me. It's like the difference between like a stick drawing and a black and white photograph. Like think of the amount of like grays that you have in there. So 70 millimeter has like a really amazing dynamic range. And it sounds really good. There's lots of kind of things about 70 that make it just this sort of like spectacular experience, more than the kind of more regular experience of seeing something on 35.
You mentioned that you prefer 35 because it's easier to work with. What, in terms of like actual projection, what when you're working of 70 millimeter film versus 35, like what is the difference?
So at the Music Box, we actually have projectors that can do both. They're called dual gauge projectors. And most of the time we run 35 millimeter on them. But when we want to run 70, we're essentially just like swapping out certain components on the machine. But it's not a lot. So you make these little changes and then that same projector can run 70 millimeter. But, 35 millimeter, there's a reason they made it the standard. It's like it runs through the projector really easily. It's easy to handle. 70 millimeter, it's just a little too big. It's like it's heavy, it's loud in the projector. If you have a machine that's like perfectly calibrated, it runs it perfectly, but it's just difficult to handle. It moves around in the gate more. It's louder as it goes through the machine. It's just more physical to deal with when you're a projectionist. But those are the trade-offs. Like it looks really incredible. But behind the scenes, it is quite a bit more work to just monitor and handle and stuff like that. So 35, we always breathe a sigh of relief when we get to go back to 35.
Yeah, and like at the Music Box, we do a lot of things like build a screen in front of it. There's a lot more involved with shooting, doing things on 70.
Right. Yeah.
Have you? Do you want to talk a little bit about that, about building the screen?
Sure. Yeah. So what Jeremy's referring to is, so at the Music Box, we have like a regular screen and our beautiful curtain. And then when we do 70 millimeter, what we discovered many years ago is that if you run 70 millimeter on our regular screen, which you can, it looks really great, but the screen size is like a little too small to really give you the full 70 millimeter experience. This was a film format that was really designed for like big theaters with big screens. So our solution, instead of like carving into the front of the theater, which some theaters do that, they get rid of the original proscenium and they basically permanently destroy their front of house. We decided to build a temporary screen. So we had a custom, like basically it's like a pop-up like fast fold screen, but it was custom built and it's huge. It takes them several hours in the morning with like a cherry picker to put it up. But it just goes in front of the stage. It doesn't look very pretty when you walk into the auditorium, but when the lights go down and the film's on screen, it's really big and beautiful and bright. And so I think we made the right decision. But every year we'll put that up for the 70 Fest.
And then this year's films that are chosen, I mean, like you're saying, it's a large format, and the films that are programmed represent that. They're epics, they're large scale, they're spectacle. Can you talk a little bit about the process of programming them? You and Julian Antos programmed the 70 Fest this year, right? And
yeah, actually, I'm going to give Julian full credit. He like will come to me to be like, what do you think of this? But he's been really programming the 70 Fest for several years now. And I'm programming, I'm going to do air quotes here because programming for 70 millimeter is really a very unusual thing. It's not like sitting down and being like, I want to put a film series together that's based on this actor or this theme or this time period. It's like 70 millimeter. It's a format based festival. So the prints that are available to you are really limited. So you can't just show any movie you want. So really the skill, I think, in programming the 70 Fest, it's not necessarily about taste. it's about knowing the history of 70, knowing who has those prints, what condition they're in, and knowing the technical limitations, or not limitations necessarily, but the prints. There are different kinds of 70 prints with different types of sound, and different aspect ratios, and being able to know all that and say, okay, these are the ones we're going to do this week because it's going to be easier on the staff because they're all the same. These are all the mag track prints, like that kind of stuff. And Julian has a really solid knowledge of all those things. So sometimes people will say to us, oh, can you show this movie in 70 millimeter? And I have to be like, that doesn't exist.
They didn't
They
make
never
that.
made 70 prints of that. Or sometimes they did make 70 prints of it, but they're like long gone.
Gone to history. There's like a website that has like a 70 millimeter long list. And it's like, it looks like it was made in 1997. It's awesome.
So that's where I did my research on Backdraft. It's a website called in70millimeter.com, and it is amazing.
It's amazing.
They have tracked every single screening of every 70 millimeter movie going back to like, the beginning of 70.
Yeah, and you brought up the movie of the hour, Backdraft. This is the first time Backdraft is going to be playing as part of the festival. It's the only Chicago movie playing in the festival this year, and it's one that we decided to talk about. I know last year Julian played this really great 70 millimeter sort of what are those called? The city. They're not like explorations, but like the city of Chicago, like travel logs.
Oh yeah.
he
Oh
played
yeah.
the-
That was the Chicago Film Society restoration.
Yes, of
We
Brainstorm.
preserved that film. Yeah.
Right, and you preserved it. You worked on it. So there is
And
that.
it's a
That's
Chicago movie.
It's a
yeah.
Chicago
It's
movie.
called, I forget. It's called like Chicago City of Dreams or
City
something.
of Dreams, something like that.
Yeah.
Sitting on,
Yeah.
on the lake or something. But Backdraft. Tell us a little bit about the choice to play Backdraft, and not like you were saying, it has nothing to do with taste. But
Yeah, no, really, the choice to play Backdraft was like Universal. The studio was like, who we have a great relationship with, and we have gotten the 70 prints from them before. Was like, hey, we have a 70 millimeter print of Backdraft.
hell yeah,
And yes, we will show that. We've never shown it before. So I don't know the full story of like if that was a print that they acquired recently, or if it was a print in their archive that maybe they didn't know they had. That sort of thing happens. But to just talk briefly about, so Backdraft is from 1991. So there are periods of time. The people that listen to your show are like, we know, we've been talking about this movie for a while. We know what year it's from. I think of 70 millimeter as having like kind of three time periods where it was really popular. Large gauge film goes back really far, actually, to the beginning of cinema. But the big periods are 1960s. You have a lot of like epic films that are shot on 70, released on 70, like Lawrence of Arabia, 2001, West Side Story. But then Backdraft is coming at a time period where it's like a second resurgence of 70 millimeter prints in the 80s and early 90s. And a lot of those are what they call blow up prints, meaning they're films that were shot on 35 millimeter, but then in the lab, they optically blow them, literally enlarge them so that they can do a 70 millimeter exhibition of them. And a lot of the reason is for sound. It's not about the picture. It's about the audio. Because in the 80s, for most of cinema, sound, when sound is invented in cinema, for most of it, it's just a mono single channel sound. In the 70s, you could hear like 4-track mag, 35 millimeter, but it was kind of like most theaters couldn't do it. And it's a kind of a special thing. And it was really delicate. I did learn a factoid for you, Jeremy. Do you want to know what one of the last 4-track mag prints released was?
Please
35 mil, 1983. Do you have a guess?
83. And you specifically are singling me out.
It was Yentl.
It was Yentl. Oh my god, that's so exciting.
Right. So, but at the time, so, if you're going to the movies in the 1970s, for the most part, you're hearing things in mono, and in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And then something happens where they develop 4-channel Dolby sound, multi-channel sound for 35 millimeter prints, which is a big deal. But in the 1980s, you could see a 70 millimeter print and it was 6-track mag. So more channels of sound, higher fidelity, higher quality audio. Because on 35 millimeter, you're dealing mostly with what's called optical sound, which is printed. It's a little waveform that's printed on the film. And mag track is actually like magnetic oxide painted on the print, and it sounds awesome. So the blow up prints were really about the audio. So you would go, if you're living in Chicago, it's 1991, you can go see a 35 millimeter print of Backdraft at your local theater, and with optical sound, it probably sounds pretty good. Or you can go big opening night, cleared court, 1,000 seats, and you can see it 6-track mag, 70 millimeter. And that's like the big show. So that's kind of why they do it in the 80s and 90s. That's why it's popular. And then in the early 90s, they invent digital sound for film prints. And that's kind of the end. That's the end of mag. And it's kind of the end of that like resurgence of blow up prints until today.
Right.
They kind of start doing it again, like in 2015 when Hateful Eight is released. It kicks off the beginning of another era of 70 millimeter roadshow, big deal 70 millimeter like exhibition.
Yeah, I would say that Hateful Eight screening in Chicago was there was a lot of buzz about it. I was not working at the Music Box at that point, but I definitely came to the Music Box. I got that big book that they handed out to everybody with it. It explained a lot of these things, these questions, and a lot of young cinephiles got very invested in the formats they were watching. And you see that all the way through up to today with the release of Sinners, where Ryan Coogler has been very, at the front lines talking about why you should pay attention to which format, like 70 millimeter, IMAX, like pay attention to these things. Do you see a change in the film going audience of people being more aware of those things, or? I guess.
I mean, it's interesting. When I started projecting, it was like right on the edge of digital cinema. So I went through the period of like, oh, they're getting rid of all the film is going away. And then it kind of didn't go away. It's like there was a period where like it went away, but it kind of was still around a little bit. And then it started to come back. Like after 5 years, it started to come back in a very big way. And the Hateful Eight was definitely a big deal for people that I think were interested in analog film and really cared about it. I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but what that guy has done. Paul Thomas Anderson to The Master actually came out in 70 before Hateful Eight. It didn't get like a big national release in 70 the way that Hateful Eight did, but that was kind of the beginning of that. And yeah, I've seen, as somebody that's like been beating this drum about how film is really important forever since I started doing this work, it's really nice to see how popular it is. It's really popular, and people are, young people talk about it. Ryan Coogler is making videos about it. That's a good video too. And it's really good. Hard to make those. It's hard to explain, as I've done a little bit on your show. It's hard to explain the tech side of this stuff without really boring people to death or making them feel like you're talking
belittling them or whatever. But
and he made, I think, a very accessible, really fun video. And
he's really hot. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it helps that he's like incredibly good looking, but
but it's important because we are invested in the way that we watch things. I do. One of my favorite Rebecca projection stories is there was a day where I was working. It was noir, and one of the projectors went down. And I was managing, so I had to go up on stage and tell everyone, hey, this is what's going on. We're going to have to run it off of one projector. There's going to be breaks.
I was there. I was at the screening.
Between the screenings. And I came back and I went up to the booth and Rebecca was like, the screening would have been canceled if it wasn't on film.
Yeah, that's my go-to. Whenever that happens, I like to point that out. whenever a projector goes down and you're running off one, it sucks. It's not a good solution. But it is true that if you're doing changeover projection, which is what you should be doing if you're running film these days, you always got another projector.
Exactly. And do you have any opinions on the film Backdraft? Do you have any?
To be honest, I have not seen it since I was a child. Yeah.
I hadn't seen it since I was a child, and I watched it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I still love it quite a bit. It is one of the goofiest movies I've seen in a long time. It is the personification of the fire, the sound. Honestly, it's so interesting. And that's gonna really. It's a movie that is not made to be watched the way that I watched it this week, which is on my bed on my laptop in my bed.
Yeah.
It is 100% gonna hit in an audience full of people.
So those types of movies are the movies that they made 70 prints of. Movies that had that kind of sound. They're kind of Hollywood blockbuster. Like, I'm trying to think of some of the ones we've shown over the years that were like mag track 70 prints, like Total Recall. What else have we done? Aliens, films that are really like designed to blow your face off and blow your eardrums out. So that's why they made that print. Also, a lot of the time that I haven't seen it on screen yet, but the print just on the inspection bench looks really amazing. It's in amazing condition, which is not always the case for, these prints are old. They're really rare. I don't know how many 70 prints of Backdraft there are in the world, probably single digits. I mean, so I bet it's going to look amazing. A lot of the time they're made from the camera negative too, so they can look like really extraordinary, even if it's a blow up print. Yeah, it'll be the way to see it, I think.
Do you have like a white whale of 70 millimeter screenings? Like one that we haven't been able to get?
I mean, there's not that many. Like, there's a 70 print of Malcolm X that lives at the George Eastman Museum that is not like it's like it's like Martin Scorsese's like personal print or something. So the chances that we're going to get that are slim, but it has screened, I believe. So there's stuff like that where like I know there's a print of it somewhere. But other than that, I don't know. I think there are prints that had 70 releases where those prints no longer exist, and you do sort of wish like, oh, why doesn't somebody make a print of like Ryan's daughter instead of another print of 2001? Like Christopher Nolan is like, let's make another restoration of 2001 and release on 70, and you're like, that's great, but can we also get a print of this
like obscure
date or something?
There's that website, the in 70 millimeter website is full of like grayed out titles or like no longer in print, and I'm like, oh, it would be so cool if we had access to that.
You wish somebody with like billions of dollars would just like make a bunch of them. But I get excited whenever there's one that appears that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. And like the success of something like Sinners, it does. I mean, we had a woman call in this week who was in her late 70s. She couldn't figure out how to use the website, but she was like, I've seen Sinners 10 times. And I'm very excited to see it the way that the director wanted to at your theater. So it was really nice. And I was like, okay, no matter what your opinions on the film are, kind of like Backdraft, I don't really care. It doesn't have to do with like taste. It has to do with experience, and it's an experience for people. I think Sinners is great personally, just as a movie. But I do think like it's better than Backdraft. But Backdraft is awesome, and it's like it's an experience. So I just like that people are paying attention to these things.
Yeah, I think 70 millimeter, even if like the films are not films that you think are great necessarily, there is a sort of like exciting thing about the format that sometimes makes the films like better than they actually are.
Sure.
Makes sense. But I will say I was very excited when Nope came out, because 70 millimeter, if you think about it, it's like a subset of a subset of a subset. It's just like, it's not a diverse group of films. It's not a diverse group of filmmakers. I don't even know if there's like a 70 millimeter print of a film that a woman directed. I don't think that exists. But it's not really, it's just because it's such a small slice of the pie, right? But when Nope came out, it was like very exciting because we were like, oh, finally. And the film is awesome. So every time like something like that is added to our ability to program the series and make it a little bit more diverse, that's always really exciting. And so Sinners, I think, is such a welcome like addition to the 70 millimeter family,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. There are filmmakers that I really love that I wish would do something on 70. But it's expensive, and I can think it kind of has a reputation of this like,
Mm-hmm.
a certain type of director is going to shoot on 70.
They should let Claire Denis make a 70 millimeter film. They should
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's all types of filmmakers where you're like, oh, can you imagine what like a 70 millimeter film by like this person would.
Lucretia Martel.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of like there is going to be someone to make. I mean, like you're saying, it is a spectacle format. But there are movies that are more intimate that have been made recently on that format. So like, I mean, The Brutalist is sort of like has this like epic scope, but like a lot of the film is shot. It's conversations. It's close up. So you see people using it in different ways. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and also blow up prints are really popular again. So something like Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza, these are films that were not shot in 70 that had a 70 release. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So Roma was a really interesting one because it was shot digitally, but it actually had a pretty big 70 millimeter release.
To then go live on Netflix.
What? Yeah. What'd you say? It's to live on Netflix.
To live on Netflix.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was sort of a confusing one because people kept saying it was shot on 70 because the digital camera is like a 65 millimeter.
It's like mimicking.
Camera. So there was we had to do a lot of explaining when we showed the 70 millimeter. But actually, the prints were quite beautiful. And it's unusual because it's black and white 70 millimeter shot digitally. So there's some weird stuff going on.
You mentioned earlier that you had done some research on Backdraft on 70. Could you share some of that?
Yeah, I mean, really the only thing I learned was, so if you wanted to see it in Chicago in 1991, there were 2 places in the city that showed it on 70 and then 5 suburban locations, which is not bad. I mean, that's kind of a lot. But one of them, the main one in Chicago, would have been, again, McClurg Court, which was a place that Jeremy, I don't know are you both from Chicago? Do you guys remember this place? It closed in 2003. It was built in the 1970s. I don't know, Jeremy, your parents probably went there. I mean, it was like the place where you would go see the 70 millimeter blow up prints, because it was over 1,000 seats. It had a huge screen. I knew people that went there as kids that were from Chicago. So I think it holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. I knew people that worked there. Unfortunately, I think it kind of like fell on hard times, and then it closed the year after AMC River East opened down the street. So I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin, but you could have seen Backdraft there. Do you want to know what the first film that they played in 1971 when they opened?
Yes.
Jeremy Martyr. Do you want to know
71. Is it Fiddler on the Roof?
It is the 70 millimeter roadshow of Fiddler on the Roof.
I am just knocking these Jewish questions out of the ballpark.
Yes. Well, that was basically all I learned about.
That's
Backdraft.
amazing. I love that. Like, but so there is a 70 print of Fiddler?
Well, so that's a good question. I don't know that there's one around. So if you look at that website again, it's like the last listed screenings were in the early 90s. And also, unless they made new prints of it, films from the 70s, they would be faded by now. So unless they made new prints of it in like the mid 80s or something, which they might have, original prints of that movie would be faded. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe there's one sitting in an archive somewhere.
So we'll find ourselves to a Yentl Fiddler on the Roof double,
right.
Double feature 70 millimeter at some point.
The one I want to see is, I think there is a 70 millimeter print of the film The Black Cauldron in the UK, which I would love to. That was a favorite film of mine as a child.
All the 70 millimeter animation, I mean, Sleeping Beauty, which is what we're getting, there's a very special quality to that. Is there a difference that you've noticed technically with those, or?
Well, you probably know more about this than me. I mean, the Sleeping Beauty print is extraordinary, but I think that's in part because of the original animation is extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's like, what do they call that? Where they're doing like the cell animation,
Yeah.
right? And I imagine that print, because that's an original print. It's probably made from all the negatives. You know, it's like all photochemical, which is another thing that like you know, almost all the prints you see that are made today have a digital component somewhere along the line of the process, which is not bad necessarily. But if you can see something that was made all photochemically, it's an amazing experience. It really, just the way it looks is it's unmatchable, I think. Whether it's 3516 or whatever. But the all photochemical process is like a pretty amazing thing, and it's rare. Dunkirk actually was made all photochemically. The only people that do it now are Paul Thomas Anderson and Nolan, where there's no digital in between for at least some of their films. The Master is another one where those 70 prints are like mind-boggling.
That's good for people to know, like, which of the 70 prints are we seeking out for what reasons?
Yeah. So Dunkirk, like, not a favorite movie of mine, but if you're interested in how good 70 can look, that is a very good test.
Yeah. It's Dunkirk has the 70 millimeter photochemical people and the One Direction people. Those are the two people interested in the film Dunkirk.
Right.
Rebecca, just to wrap things up, thank you for coming on and talking to this stuff. I know you said that you think it's boring. I don't find this stuff boring at all. I find it incredibly interesting. And
I don't think it's boring. It's just it's hard to talk about in a way that's engaging.
Is there other stuff that you want to plug when it comes to Chicago Film Society? Any upcoming screenings?
Chicago Film Society is a cool organization because we only show stuff on film, and we kind of came out of the era of like, oh, digital is coming, something must be done. So we took a stance where we were like, we're only going to show stuff on film. We're going to highlight archives and collectors and studios that are doing, you know, film on film preservation work and that sort of thing. And we've been going strong for like, I don't know, 14 years. So for us, it's been a real pleasure to see how much interest there is in analog film now, because it wasn't really that way when we started. And we like to think we were partly responsible for this, at least in the city of Chicago.
I think so. I think there's a really strong base of people in Chicago who care deeply about, preservation and seeing things on analog formats. You guys are restoring a film, I saw.
So we do preservation work. Usually we have like 1 or 2 projects a year. Which means we get grant money to basically like take a film that's sort of in danger, and we make sure there are new prints are made, and then there's like elements that could then be put in like long-term storage, so that there's always a way to show that film. That's part of doing preservation work. Most people that are really serious about preservation do film on film preservation because it's considered to be the safest and most longest lasting way to preserve something. So even if you're going to scan it and release it digitally, you need to have a film preservation part of that also. We're working, I think the newest one that maybe you're thinking of is a Fred Camper film. Fred Camper is a local film scholar and experimental filmmaker and kind of an amazing person, and he has many films we are preserving. It's a Super 8 feature film, which is kind of crazy. So that's the next preservation project. And we've done some stuff with Heather McAdams, who's another Chicagoan kind of amazing personality and an animator and a cartoonist, and her films are super fun.
And finally, just what's a Chicago food stop that you recommend?
Oh yeah, that I've been thinking about it this whole time. I'm going to recommend, have you been to Uncle Mike's place? Do you know this? Let me just confirm that this is the actual name of the restaurant. Not like a nickname.
A guy, Uncle Mike.
Oh yeah, it is Uncle Mike's place. It's been in Chicago like forever. I used to live near it. I believe it's on Grand. It's near like Humboldt Park, and it's a Filipino restaurant, and it's a diner. And it just is awesome. It's like it has both diner food, like you can get pancakes and stuff, but then you can get these like full Filipino breakfasts with like eggs and pancakes and like a crazy red sausage, and they give you a free little garlic chicken rice soup when you walk in the door. So if you go there and it's like winter time and you're feeling like garbage, you'll sit down and they'll just hand you this like perfect gingery garlicky soup for free.
That's a great answer.
That's awesome.
It's a great restaurant. And I think they're doing okay. They always seem like really bustling when I go there.
The lines at Kasama need to go over to Uncle
room.
Mike.
It's not as nice.
Well, that's how you know it's a good place.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on, Rebecca. We really appreciate
Sure,
it.
this
Thank
was
you.
fun.
Thank you so much to Rebecca Lyon for that interview. Bye, Rebecca. Have a good one. We are here today to talk about Backdraft.
Yes.
It's a 1991 Ron Howard picture about firefighters in the city of Chicago. It follows the McCaffrey brothers, played by Kurt Russell and Billy Baldwin,
Yes.
as they navigate their own trauma, losing their father to a fire.
Their father, it was Kurt Russell, right?
Yeah.
It was just Kurt Russell with a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, corruption in the city, aldermanic corruption, an arsonist, a former arsonist. Yep. And it's a movie where the main villain is the flames themselves, the fire.
Sort of. Yeah, I guess that. I mean, there's like several villains.
Several villains.
Yes.
But the fire is
Is the fire the villain?
the fire is the villain the same way the shark in Jaws is the villain.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a creature.
Yes.
It is a thing to be tamed or
Yeah.
controlled.
The animal is
the
what
animal.
is how Donald Sutherland's character.
This movie's fucking insane.
It's how Donald Sutherland's character talks about it.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess let's talk about the Chicago filmmaking in this movie, and to kind of set the stage. While I was doing research, I found this New York Times article from around the time that this movie came out. I think of like a month later. The article title is "Chicago Gets Hot as a Site for Filmmaking," and it's essentially why I thought this was an interesting article. Oh, it was written by Isabel Wilkerson, who she wrote a really famous book about Chicago. I forget the name of it. The Warmth of Other Suns.
Mhm.
It's like a nonfiction book.
Okay.
And then she also wrote, what is that movie that came out 2 years ago? Ava
DuVernay?
Yeah. So Isabel Wilkerson wrote the book that.
Oh, the one that Neon. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What's that movie called?
What is that movie called?
Anyway, that's just interesting.
Yeah.
That she was just a reporter back then. Not like a world famous author. But anyway, so the article is about how filmmaking at the time was using a lot of Hollywood filmmaking at the time was using Chicago as a location for filming. And the article kind of points to a bunch of different reasons. A lot of directors quoted in the article are just like, I just like how normal Chicago is. Like a lot of people are just like appreciate kind of, I think because the city has so many, I feel like because the city is so diverse, you can kind of like shoot Chicago and have it take place in different areas.
Yeah, there's many different looks of the city. There's different neighborhoods that look different. There's the lakefront, there's the west side, there's the south, like everything. There's downtown if you need something to look, modern. If you need something to look a little bit older, then there's like the outskirts if you need something to look remote.
Yes.
And that's true of many cities, but Chicago has the infrastructure of, like an LA or New York for like talent and for filming. And something that's quoted in the article is like, because of Chicago's different ethnic groups being concentrated to certain neighborhoods, if you need to film somewhere and you need a bunch of extras that are Polish, and you shoot in a Polish neighborhood, they will get you, 50 to 100 polka dancers.
Yeah.
in under an hour. So
yes, or if you have a scene where you need Irish step dancers for, a fireman's anniversary party.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
yes.
It's a very strange scene.
It
They don't explain it at all. They're just like, oh, see you at the party. And then they go to a retirement party, birthday party for some higher up fireman.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's like a gala, but it is also like an Irish folk.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure those happen all over the city. But yeah, I think it was just an interesting article because it shows that I feel like there are a lot of movies in Chicago from the 90s, especially like the early 90s, and there was a choice in it.
Mm-hmm.
Something was going on economically within the city and across the country that made it worthwhile for Hollywood producers to come film here. I think part of it was like Daley Jr. compared to his father was they mentioned that during Daley Sr.'s term he had pretty much banned filmmaking from Chicago. I think Daley Jr. was a lot more open to that. He was a lot more willing to let people use the streets.
I actually dug into this a little further. There's a Roger Ebert article where he makes a comment about the reason why Daley Sr. Was against filming in Chicago. And he got a call from the Chicago Film Office and someone who worked in the city at the time. They're like, no, it was medium cool. It was the fact that medium cool
that makes sense.
Depicted the city like that all approval throughout the 70s had to go through him. Like late 60s and early 70s had to go through and then like the administrations after sort of followed that, and they didn't want any depictions of the city that were negative.
Yeah.
Which is why you see a lot of films not filmed in Chicago throughout the 70s, and why New York is really the face of New Hollywood.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
so much filming happening in New York at that time. And then that starts to change in the 80s, and now in the 90s it start to be, you start to see filmmakers I think culminating in The Fugitive, which is after this article.
Yeah, definitely. But that was kind of like that's the epitome of all this.
Yeah.
This growth over time.
Apotheosis, is that a word?
Yeah, one of those words. No, definitely not the one I use.
It is the culmination. That's the word.
Yeah,
God, we're so good at words. That's the movie that is, Backdraft, and the other movie that they're talking about filming in the city at the time is a John Hughes produced movie directed by Chris Columbus called Only the Lonely, which Paco and I had never heard of.
Yes.
We've done a bunch of research about movie stars in the city, and that's a movie that was it was a widely released film with John Candy, and it was supposed to be the Manhattan for Chicago, and that was being shot at the same time. But these movies maybe that aren't as popular. Backdraft being more popular, it paved the way for something like The Fugitive to be made the way that it was made.
Yes. And speaking of John Hughes, I think he was also a big reason why Chicago was started. I think there's multiple reasons that the article points to about like why crews are starting to film in Chicago. Hughes, because he was just like such a juggernaut of like writing, production, directing. I think he just he pushed like almost all his productions to do at least some filming here. And I think part of it, because he grew up here, part of it he lived here. There's some funny quotes about him. He tried living in Los Angeles once, and then he says, Los Angeles is a very special place. It's richer, more diverse, nicer weather. It's a newer place, a place of dreams. Chicago is a place of realities.
Yeah.
But it's funny he's trying to talk up Chicago, and really he's just complimenting LA, but saying that it's too much. There's too, and I mean it's true. It's pretty removed from reality, and Chicago at the time was seen as a grittier place.
More down to earth. I do think it has this reputation as being a working class city, a labor city, but also has like cutting edge architecture, art museums. It has this high and low sort of attitude that directors are attracted to, because they don't want it to feel fake. They don't want it to feel, they want it to feel of the people, but they don't actually want to film in those places.
And I think what's funny about Backdraft is that unlike other Chicago movies, I think at the time and that we've talked about, it doesn't really take advantage of this. But I think a big appeal of filming in Chicago versus like other random smaller cities is that even those might have similar shooting, they don't have like the acting scene that Chicago has.
Right.
And I think a lot of people were drawing from that. Like you just get the appeal of like, okay, like it's probably cheaper to film here. It's probably like you get some really like nice shooting, and then also you just have this pool of actors that you might not get in other places.
Like you're like you have like the gritty reality, but then also like the detective you are working with to show you around the city becomes Dennis Farina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's like talented actors being plucked from places. There's the comedy scene. There's Steppenwolf. There's the good. There's all these different like pools of actors that they can pull from. Something that I found interesting in this article is that there's this strike that happens in New York City. Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yes. So I think the article is pretty biased towards Hollywood, I would say, because it's kind of saying like Chicago's this great place. Everyone wants to film there. Like here's all these reasons why. But it seems like a big chunk of the reason is that in 1990 there was a big strike in New York City among like their film craft union.
Yeah.
And essentially, I did some digging into it. I don't have all the specifics, but essentially it seemed like the union in New York had a much better contract than the traditional Hollywood union. Mm-hmm. So like instead of, do you know what the 30-mile rule is?
No.
Okay. I also don't know. I was hoping you would explain it to me.
Okay.
But I think there's like, essentially like once you like, once you would like drive into the city, you were already on the clock. And then the second that you went overtime, you got double pay. Like it wasn't time and a half. You got double pay. Like their the working conditions for the film craft union in New York was just like much better. And Hollywood producers essentially just froze out the entire city in retaliation for this like union, for like the new union negotiations. And I think, and you know, Daley Jr. I think was savvy enough to realize that was a big opening for Chicago.
Right. For Chicago
filming.
to slide in there and be like, we can soak up some of that while that dispute is being, because it's not like New York's gonna be shut down forever. They're gonna
but they did change a lot of productions from New York to Chicago.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. The article kind of mentions it offhand, but I think that's probably a big part of why a lot of productions were moving here.
I love that, like, even Chicago is a labor town. The competition with New York, we're like, we'll scab a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it goes to show, I think part of it is because our film industry, at least for a lot of the 20th century, like, it was a lot less. We have a lot of actors, but like we don't have like that as much crew, and so we don't have like a whole film craft union, or we didn't have a film craft union that was like setting specific conditions for filming in the city.
Do you know what 30 Mile Zone is most famous for?
No.
It is why it's called TMZ, the tabloids. It's the studio zone. It's in LA. It's anything within the radius of it that you're right. That is the it is a marker for the entertainment industry to figure out when people are working. That's fascinating. It's a per diem thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so all these things were going on at the time, and I think that's ultimately one of the reasons why they picked Chicago to be the location for this movie.
Yes.
Because obviously firefighters are important here.
Yes.
This Chicago Fire Department.
It is a place that realistically could be the setting for a movie like this.
Yes. And I think Ron Howard and the writers, I think they do a really good job of making sure that it feels like it should be set in Chicago. I don't necessarily think it had to be. Like it could have been in New York. It could have been somewhere else. Yeah. I do think it's weird that they don't mention the Chicago fire. Maybe maybe firefighters are kind of tired of hearing about that. But
that was seen as old hat.
Yeah.
But there's never been an adaptation. There's never been
in old Chicago.
In old Chicago.
That's a really good one. But regardless of why they picked Chicago, let's talk about the Chicago-ness of the movie.
Yeah. I do think that this movie uses the locations extremely well. There's a ton of filming that happens on the South Side. around 42nd Street. There's a ton of filming that happens off Canal, and a ton of filming that happens in Uptown.
Yes.
They sort of combine the city into, like, they'll shoot from one angle that's on 42nd to Uptown, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think
They do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah.
It evokes the city in a way.
I think that's the more important aspect of it. It's not like necessarily, I mean, like we often will just like nitpick about like, oh,
Geographically, it doesn't work.
But I think it does better than it could, getting the vibe of the city and like the importance of like the different ethnic groups. And I guess they never really explained why it seems like the bar at the beginning that the first scene is in, or like the second scene, it's in like a Lithuanian neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
They never really go into they never really
I just think
go into the specific.
I think like the fire department is, an honorable profession, right, for many different groups. And it seems to me that like they're going to this bar on this night, they're going to this function on this thing. Like this was shot at like Emmett's bar, which is I think it no longer exists, but it's a, like an establishment. It's an Irish pub, but, like there's that was on, you're talking about after the graduation?
Yes.
Yeah, that's at Emmett's,
Okay.
which is off Milwaukee, which is I think like classically one of those places that like still lets you smoke cigarettes inside.
That's awesome.
And it is like a cop, fire department hang.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
it is accurate. They did talk to people clearly. They did talk to firefighters and get some of this stuff.
I think, right. I mean, the firefighters were on set, obviously because they had to be, because a lot of the crazy ass effects like had to deal with actual fire. And I think the movie, I mean, like De Niro famously did his method thing, and he like followed like 3 different like fire inspectors, and like he was on set and everyone's like, yeah, he's fucking super serious. I think his character is actually named after a real life arson inspector, but that guy was 6'6".
Really?
Yeah.
Just a lanky, tall.
Yeah, just a giant guy.
It was stressing me out how many characters smoked cigarettes through these sets before and after fires. It was really like, that's a fire starter right there.
Well, yeah, you gotta imagine that there's still some kind of like kindling there. Like there's probably like still like, because there's so much of the movie is based on like gas leaks.
But maybe everything's soaking because they just sprayed everything down.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they're laughing in the face of the fire.
Yes. Also, similarly, I mean, I think part of it just has, I guess it's a plot line part, and also part of it is because like they're all actors, you want to see their faces, but like the amount of times the characters aren't wearing masks or like some kind of protective equipment is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, the movie addresses that because like Kurt Russell's thing, like his character, Brian.
Yeah.
Or is the other one? Or is Billy Baldwin Brian?
Billy Baldwin's right. Kurt Russell's character?
Yeah.
Is Steven,
yeah. His whole thing is like, oh, he's like the brave guy. He's like purposely like kind of dangerous and reckless. And so he's like going into the fire without a mask on.
The reason why I remember that, Paco, is because Billy Baldwin is yelling at his brother named Steven, who's an asshole. And I just like kept being like, wow, is he really like tapping into something there? Like he's really getting some brother angst out. The location that really connected for me, that was really evocative and of a part of the city that I feel like more people should utilize, is the lumberyard.
Yeah.
The canal right by the, like where the boat, the brother boat hang was. Is the implication that they use that boat to fish?
I think it was their father's old boat.
So it's like a clubhouse for them now?
I think like I think they just like inherited it from their father, and like they were going to fix it up at some point.
Okay.
And then they never did because like they kind of like broke apart.
Okay.
You know?
That's the implication. I really like that location. It is incredibly evocative. And yeah, like a part that we all kind of see, but don't think about when we think about Chicago. a lot of wide open space in the middle of the city.
Yes.
And that's, you know, pretty cool.
I think this movie reminded me, this movie's use of Chicago reminded me, I think, most of Primal Fear, in that I think it's really good at capturing the different textures of the city. Because like oftentimes movies will kind of focus on like one area and be like, that's the kind of representation that it's going for. And this movie really moves around a lot.
Totally.
Really,
there's a lot of stuff in Wicker Park.
Yeah, it's really funny that I wanted to bring that up. Billy Baldwin's character, who's like the fuck up brother, he lives in Wicker Park.
Yeah.
So it's really funny imagining him in the same neighborhood as like Rob Gordon.
Going to the high fidelity store.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah.
They all live in our Chicago, you know, CCU film that we make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all just there.
Yeah.
Billy Baldwin's going to.
You gotta attack Thanos.
Yeah.
Help.
Who would be the villain in the?
Who's the big villain?
Yeah, I guess it would be Edward
Rahm
Norton.
Emanuel.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Played by Edward Norton.
And he's collecting different fingers instead of
He's trying to get his paint back.
Yeah. Anyway, Rahm Emanuel will be on our next episode as the next guest. So
yes,
look
we
forward
will
to that.
be talking about all his ideas about the political parties, about where the Democratic Party went wrong.
Yeah, it's too woke.
Yes. Speaking of corrupt politicians.
Oh. Go ahead. Speaking of corrupt politicians, the
JT Walsh plays a corrupt alderman.
Yeah.
Who I guess another similarity this has with Primal Fear is that I think it's nice that both these movies, Backdraft and Primal Fear, are focusing on these like kind of like lower level politicians and like their corruption. Because I think we've talked about it before. I think that's, you know, unlike New York, we have unfortunately never had an indicted mayor, but we have had many indicted aldermen. Mm-hmm. And so I think that feels very lived in, even though my wife pointed out that they reference districts instead of wards. But other than that, I think he feels like one of those old style Chicago aldermen.
Yeah, and he's the kind of corrupt that actually happens. It felt like a very lived in, like he is one of the main villains, but he's not like behind everything.
No. Yeah, I mean, we could talk a bit about the plot.
Yeah. This movie is not perfect.
No, I would say that the plot and the script are maybe the worst parts of it.
And also the style. There's moments that I love. Like, yes. I love anything with the fire. Okay, let's just take a step back. This movie is incredibly stupid. This movie is not, we're describing it in the Chicagoness. We like that lived in feeling. There is almost like an automatic pass that like these 90s movies get with me where I'm like, yeah, it's just so
it just
awesome.
Looks good. It just like anything, like if you were to take this exact script, even like on location shooting, and like similar actors, and you did this now, it would suck shit.
Yeah.
Just because like I don't think you can make a movie that looks this good. They made it illegal in like 2017. Like if you try to make a movie that looks like this,
good.
They will kill you.
They'll take you out back.
But yes,
I do think that there is an automatic, you have to just like give in to the silliness of this movie. When I say stupid, I mean bombastic, over the top, rocks for brains. We are elementally fighting fire as humanity has done since Prometheus. Like that is the vibe. And
they should have started with the Oppenheimer Prometheus quote.
They should have. They should have. They literally, you have to give in to the fact that this movie treats the fire as the villain, like it's the villain from Jaws. Like it is an animal, like it's Jurassic Park. The fire speaks, it whispers, it has animal roars. The sound design is pretty amazing.
Yes.
But it was
nominated for Best Sound.
Yeah, the sound is really good.
At the Academy
but it
Awards.
Is goofy as hell that the fire like hides from you. That like it like will like go out the bottom of the door, like smoke, and then it'll retreat. Like
that does happen. I think the silliness comes from the characters talking about it as if it has some kind of agency and like
No, but the filmmaking. I think the filmmaking
is also
treats
pathologizing, is also like personifying it.
which is a better idea for a movie. But it is like
It's doing,
classic,
it's kind of treating it like Final Destination.
like Final Destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking a lot about Final Destination during this, but also just like, how can we make fire more interesting? Like, it needs to be like a beast. It needs to be like a creature. Like, I can see a Hollywood exec being like, this isn't cool enough. Like, it needs to be like more dramatic than fire.
Yes, I do feel like there would be a really interesting movie where the filmmaking, I think you're right. The film itself also is personifying the fire. I think there would be an interesting movie about kind of like a Heat style movie, kind of about like an arsonist and a fireman.
Yes.
And how they're both, like how the personification of the fire is coming from them and says more about them than it does about the fire.
Yeah.
But this movie takes that as reality.
So I was thinking a lot about Michael Mann during this. I was thinking a lot about Manhunter.
Mhm.
And that they bring in, they literally do.
This is this. No, I think this was the same year as Silence.
Silence is 93.
No, I thought it was
91. Okay.
Either
Either way. But like, I was thinking a lot about Michael Mann's take on that same thing, right? Because I don't love the way that scene with Donald Sutherland looks. It's like really bright.
To contextualize, Donald Sutherland plays an arsonist. And at some point, while they're doing the arson investigation, there's like two plot lines in the movie. There's the Kurt Russell, Billy Baldwin, two brothers who just can't get along, trying to be firefighters. And then there's an arsonist plot line where Robert De Niro plays a arson investigator, and Billy Baldwin ends up as his like assistant. And Billy Baldwin, you know, they can't crack the case, so he goes to Donald Sutherland, who is an imprisoned arsonist, to try and get advice from him.
Yeah, and I would say like Michael Mann is a hot stylist. He is a filmmaker.
He just adds to it.
Okay, you're right. This is they're on their way.
Yeah.
I was pausing to let it pass. What a fool. No, Michael Mann is a stylist that Ron Howard is not. Ron Howard will keep this movie on the train tracks. It'll keep it moving forward. This movie has verve and movement, and like it is very adequately made. But a scene like that should be building so that we're in the interiority of the Billy Baldwin character. And instead it's shot there's a lot of coverage. It doesn't hit the same way that it should. I actually like the scene more with Donald Sutherland when he's introduced.
The one where he's
like weird he's like jittery. He's on the steps.
You mean when he's just like in the hallway?
He's in the hallway.
That's such a strange scene because it doesn't, and it kind of, it's an issue with like the filmmaking in general where it just, you have no idea what is happening until they like kind of explain it. You know, it's not like Robert De Niro doesn't say like, "Oh, I'm going to go see this arsonist so that I can like try to fuck up his parole hearing." Yeah. They just like go up to him. You have no idea who Donald Sutherland is.
No,
you have no idea what it's setting up, but he's so good in it.
Yeah. No. All the performances are pretty good. I would say like, do you want to talk about Billy Baldwin? You looked at me.
I just continue your thought.
Well, my thought is that like, Donald Sutherland is putting in pretty good work here. And his arsonist character is really interesting, and I wanted to dig more into it. I like the fact that they're talking to him like the fire is a serial killer. I like the fact that he's like almost sexualizing the fire at times.
Definitely.
And it is a you have to caress it. You have to like there's just like a lot of talking about fire. Him and Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy that Billy Baldwin had to like go up against them. Like I think I don't know if Billy Baldwin is the issue with his character.
Yeah.
I guess is why I made that face. It's like, I don't think he's bad in it.
I don't think he's bad in this movie at all.
I think he brings a good dopey quality that I think is inherent in the character.
He's real younger brother energy.
Yes.
Like he has that energy.
Yes. I think he's probably method acting. But I don't, in general, the characters in the movie are kind of hard to grasp.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like figure out what their motivation is or like
Yeah.
why exactly.
Why are we following him?
Yeah. Like I think it's an issue on the script level, and I think with guys like Kurt Russell who can bring his like star power, or guys like Robert De Niro and Donald Sutherland who can just kind of go crazy with it. I think like they can surpass that script, and I think it's just like it's not really Baldwin isn't really able to like do much with it.
Right. And the like one of the movies I brought up was Manhunter. But the other movie that this made me think about a lot was The Right Stuff. Which is with Scott Glenn, who's great in this movie. Scott Glenn, I think, is tapping into that, like, this is important work that we do. There's a reason we are obsessed with it, and this work will drive our families crazy. You know, going to space, that's what The Right Stuff's about, right? As the Apollo missions? No, I'm wrong about that.
Before, I think, right? It's before the moon.
Yeah, it's before.
It's like
just going to space.
Yeah.
Speaking of Apollo, Ron Howard. I do think Scott Glenn is great in this movie.
Yes.
And we are going to be spoiling the film Backdraft. So if you do not want to hear spoilers of Backdraft, or if you want to go to the Music Box Theater to see them,
Yes,
see the movie,
now.
do that. Pause now.
Yell fire.
Scott Glenn is revealed to be the one setting the fires at the end of the movie. It is really interesting that while he is the arsonist, he is the arsonist trying to get back at the alderman for defunding the fire department.
Yes, I guess to just summarize the conspiracy the alderman is a part of, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But they essentially, he paid off some accountants to make it seem like the fire department had too big a budget.
Mm-hmm.
So he defunds the fire department to close down firehouses,
To turn them into
community centers.
This movie's dumb.
And
that's so stupid.
And the graft comes from he's like in the pocket of an expensive construction company.
Yeah, no. That made sense to me. The community center aspect makes sense too, in the fact that it's like the alderman has to pitch this to the community and still appear to be a good guy.
Yeah.
But it's so complicated.
It would make more I thought it was just going to be he was like
turning it into housing or something.
Yeah, it would make more sense if he was just like burning down houses to build something. Like that's the plot is right there. Like I guess like the plot to me seems more obvious, but I guess they wanted. I'm guessing the way that it worked out was they had the idea. Okay, there's an arsonist.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a firefighter.
Yeah.
How do we work backwards from there?
Yes.
And so they developed a super convoluted plot to kind of like justify that. So it's like, oh, it's a revenge plot. So Scott Glenn's character, Adcock.
Yeah.
Adcock. He is going after the alderman and the accountants he hired to make this fake report by setting up like these kind of like Final Destination, like Rube Goldstein type fires.
Yes. The writer of this movie was the writer of Highlander.
Okay.
So this was only his second script.
Okay.
And you can kind of tell. Like, it's not a bad script by any means. I think it's like a pretty decent.
I think it has really good ideas.
Yeah.
It's just like where it goes with all of them is really baffling.
Yeah. And then he only wrote one more big movie after that, which is the Christopher Walken movie, The Prophecy, that you're obsessed with.
Yeah, we watched.
Yeah.
That movie's, yeah.
It's so weird.
Another movie that has really interesting ideas and it goes nowhere.
But that's the thing is like Highlander and The Prophecy are these big fantasy sci-fi concepts. And Backdraft has the lore of
you're right.
of a crazy complicated sci-fi picture, but it's about Chicago firefighters.
Yes.
And at the same time, I think do you think Kurt Russell is good in this movie? Because I think he is in some scenes. He's great.
Yeah, I think in the scenes where he can just like yell and be charming, he's good. I think like again when it comes to like his characterization. I don't think it's his issue.
No.
I think he was hired to be.
He's compelling.
Yes, he's good.
But then there's like other scenes.
Yes, I would say what in terms of, so there's like, I guess, two plots in the movie that sort of converge by the end. There's
the brother conflict.
Yes.
Older brother who's trying to emulate the father. Younger brother who wants to be like the father but isn't as good of a firefighter. Golden boy brother, you can call him, I don't know, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Yes.
And the younger brother who can't really live up to the legacy,
Yeah.
but is yelling at his brother, Steven, I hate you, Steven. You know? And that's the position that Billy Baldwin's in.
Mm-hmm.
He can't hack it as a firefighter. He tries to rescue a person the first day. He ends up rescuing a dummy, a mannequin.
That's a really funny scene.
It is funny. That's funny. Again, all of the firefighting scenes are amazing.
Yes, those are that's the spectacle. That's what you're going for. You're going for like these crazy ass scenes. Like
so many things letting out
Kurt
fire.
Russell pretty much almost died.
Mm-hmm. Doing this.
Yeah.
Everyone looked like they were on the verge of dying.
Yes.
In every scene. Which is like the point of watching this movie.
Yes.
But if we're talking about the plot.
To get to those.
Yeah.
To get to those sections. So that's one of the plots. And then the other plot is this
arson, the Robert De Niro side of the investigation. Because Robert De Niro, we haven't even mentioned this, he's incredibly overqualified in this. And it's, I think, like one of the biggest red herrings I've ever seen. Where like he's in Cape Fear mode in this area of his career.
Yes.
And
like right before, I think.
Yeah. But like, you know, he's been playing more unsavory characters.
It was right after Goodfellas.
Right. And so you're supposed to think that he's the one setting the fires, I think, right? Or at least one of the suspects. One of the people you're supposed to like keep an eye on, where like if it is a noir plot, if it is like an investigation, like he's one of the characters on your mind when you're trying to figure out who it could be.
Yes.
And it not being him or Kurt Russell or I don't know, who are the other people it could be? JT Walsh.
I mean, he's the one. He's like the actual like one. I think you're supposed to think.
Yes, exactly. But it doesn't make sense for him to be the one setting the fires because that wouldn't make any sense.
Because you don't find out the plot till like
way later.
Yeah.
But then it being Scott Glenn, you know, that's where the two plots converge. Where the you're supposed to think that maybe it's Kurt Russell, which I don't think you ever think. The movie doesn't. They sell that.
They have literally one scene where Billy Baldwin thinks it's Kurt Russell, and then it doesn't make any sense at all because Kurt Russell's one of the other characters.
The fix for this movie, in my mind, is to have like just simplify the plot of the Kurt Russell family stuff into the Billy Baldwin character, and have the older brother be the one that everyone's showering praise on, and he's more of a mystery.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And like craft him as more of like the possible villain, and then have their reunion mean something at the end. Whereas like they wouldn't have shown us the scenes from Kurt Russell's perspective with the family and the son if he was also setting the fires.
Yeah.
Unless he was being pushed to set the fires for some big reason. Like,
I mean, there's that early scene where the older man shows up to the shirt factory fire. And like Kurt Russell like wants to punch him in the face. There's definitely, they set up some kind of conflict between him and the alderman that's never talked about ever again. But I think like that's supposed to be like that's like the one hint throughout.
There's a lot of like weird brawls in this movie. There's kind of an awesome scene where the two of them are fighting in the
hospital. That scene is really cool.
And he lifts him up and he hits his head on that was kind of awesome. This movie's kind of cool.
I mean, it has really good scenes. Okay, here's what I was remembering.
Yeah.
Because this is somewhat related. So, this movie was initially pitched to Tom Cruise.
Yes, that makes sense.
As the Kurt Russell role.
Yeah.
So there's this Entertainment Weekly interview profile with Kurt Russell about this movie and the filming of this movie and like the point in his career. And the reporter is in an airplane that Kurt Russell is flying.
Okay.
Like he's like a pilot guy.
So he's being interviewed while he's flying.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And apparently he was flying the plane with Tom Cruise. Like they were just hanging out, flying around. And Tom was like, "Oh yeah, like I just got pitched this movie Backdraft, but like I don't want to do it. Like you should do it." And like
Hollywood
that's
stars, they're just
yeah.
like us.
I'm
I'm always flying my plane with my friend.
Yeah. And so I guess why I think that's interesting is that the way that this movie is set up sort of reminds me of the way that the newer Mission Impossible movies are set up, which is that they think of all the crazy ass shit they can do.
And then they write the plot around it.
Yeah, and this movie kind of has that quality to it. It kind of almost reminds me of like the really hodgepodge cut and paste structure of the Final Reckoning.
Yeah.
You know, there's all these really cool scenes, and then they have to like do all these like weird things to like get the characters to the scene. The thing that I think about the most that feels one of the strangest filmmaking choices ever is Jennifer Jason Leigh plays a former love interest for Billy Baldwin's character, and she also works for the alderman.
Yeah.
The alderman wants to make Billy Baldwin kind of the face of the fire department because he had gotten on the cover of like Life magazine
as a kid
when he watched his father die in the fire. Anyway, this is all to set up Jennifer Jason Leigh and Billy Baldwin they're like hanging out. He takes her on a tour of a fire department, of like actually a fire station, and then they go on top of the fire truck
to fuck.
And cross-cutting with the fucking is Kurt Russell and Scott Glenn with their fire crew going to a fire at like a high rise.
That doesn't work for me at all.
No, it's so strange.
Why are they cross-cutting there?
It was so weird because so then you're just like, thematically it makes no sense.
So talking about 1991, Silence of the Lambs, the best cross-cutting scene of all time, building tension. It is just the purest example of why Ron Howard is not the filmmaker that Jonathan Demme is, even though they come from the same school.
As Kurt Russell and the fire crew are in the building, and it's cross-cutting to Billy Baldwin, Jennifer Jason Leigh having sex, that's when Billy Baldwin's like classmate, the other guy who was starting with him, dies or gets like horribly manged in a cool explosion.
Yeah.
And then the only reason they have that sex scene on top of the fire truck is so that then they do have a really cool shot of
them leaving the station on top of the car.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it's them.
Yeah, and it's them. And they just need it. They just need Billy Baldwin to be at the building to see his friend be like mangled.
Yeah.
So they have to, I don't know. It feels like there's so many parts of the movie that are like super contrived to try to get characters to places because it doesn't know how to actually like
write
like motivations or like explain how people get to places. They were like, okay, like we have this high-rise fire and we want to get Billy Baldwin there, but he's having a fight with his brother. Like, how do we do that? And it's like, oh, of course, like we'll just have him fuck on top of a fire truck and like end up there.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
But that's I guess that's I think a better director hopefully would have.
Well, so Ron Howard,
Yeah.
the director of this film, started off as a child star, right?
Yes.
And I think he is uniquely good at working with actors. Like I think like
definitely.
all actors who work with Ron Howard talk about how he's one of the best at blocking and talking to actors and working with actors. That is undeniable. The parts that we're talking about with directing have to do with like working with craft and working to make something pop, or that's the things in like auteur driven things that we're attracted to as cinephiles. And I think that Ron Howard makes very solid movies. Like that is undeniable. He rarely has any calamities in his career. Like it is pretty interesting looking up and down his filmography. Like none of them are considered like massive failures.
Yes. And everyone like in the United States has seen 5 Ron Howard movies and they didn't even know that he
didn't know that he directed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like he started in the Corman School.
Yes.
He started under, Roger Corman alongside a Martin Scorsese, alongside a Jim Cameron, alongside a Jonathan Demme. He started as a child star. It wasn't Bonanza, was it? It was
Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver.
Hello, Paco here from the future. When Jeremy and I were speaking about Ron Howard's career, I mistakenly told him that Leave It to Beaver was Ron Howard's first role. It was, in fact, as Opie on the Andy Griffith Show. Now back to the conversation.
And then he moved on to that. He was in George Lucas's first film.
He was
second
in
film.
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti.
Yes.
And then he went on to make Grand Theft Auto, which is a part of that phase in filmmaking where they were like youth pictures. They were like, as long as it has a car, a girl, we'll get anything funded.
And he's coming in kind of he starts directing kind of at the tail end of New Hollywood. I think Grand Theft Auto is 77, 78.
Yeah.
So it's like right after Star Wars. So it's like they're about to cut off directors from like the complete control and chaos.
Exactly. And he is, he's developed these relationships with actors throughout his career. He was on Happy Days and stuff. And so he starts just working with really talented people. And I think like you were saying, like we all know some Ron Howard movies. We all know Splash, Cocoon. What are some other ones?
Grinch.
Yeah. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And I think he is most famous for Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm.
And A Beautiful Mind.
Yes.
Those are like what he's known for. I think Ed TV is pretty great.
Did he win? It won best. A Beautiful Mind won Best Picture, right? He didn't win Best Director.
That is a good question. A Beautiful Mind won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Screenplay.
That's wild.
And it was nominated for Best Actor, Editing, Makeup, and Score.
That's
so it had
crazy.
8 nominations. Yeah, it was a very big deal.
Yeah, I remember loving it as a teenager.
Yeah, and so he's one of those filmmakers who is sort of anonymous, but has won an Oscar. He keeps things famously on the rails. He came on to Solo, A Star Wars Story late when they fired the directors, and kind of saved that movie according to, like, that movie lost money, but could have been a calamity. And I think he's sort of...
Did it actually lose money? I thought it was like actually kind of successful.
I think that's the only one that lost money out of all the Star Wars ones, but maybe I'm wrong because they had to like spend on basically 2 movies. But Ron Howard is like has this reputation of being like a mensch, of being a good guy, and for me, doesn't rise to that level, especially for someone who has won Best Director or whatever. Like, he's sort of in this like, okay, like, I don't know, like he's just not that interesting for me. Like
he's in a weird zone where I feel like partially because of the child actor Corman thing, I think he ends up being an auteur to a certain extent. But like he is just a journeyman director, like anyone else. Like, but he has like
in our lifetime, especially.
Yes,
like
but,
I think like I understand that like Willow has like an importance to people. Parenthood has an importance to people. Even Apollo 13, which, that was another one that was nominated for so many Academy Awards.
Yeah. He's really good as the narrator on Arrested Development. So like, it's like these two things. It's like he's a director and he has like a personality that people know. And I think like those just like automatically get put together.
Right.
As if, but he's not actually adding the personality to the movies, as far as I know.
And in my lifetime, he's made like Angels and Demons, Da Vinci Code. What was the
third one?
J.D.
Inferno.
Vance one?
Oh, Inferno. Hillbilly Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy. Like
Rush is pretty good.
I like Rush. Rush fun.
Yes. And it's another movie where the best part of Rush is the spectacle of it.
Yeah. No, exactly. He's like a good director of actors and a good director of big moments.
Yes. He's a team player. I think that's what it comes down to.
And a very solid director. I don't want to like shit on those style of directors. We need them in the industry. I was kind of comparing him to like a Norman Jewison before, who has made some of my favorite movies. Like yes. I really love Fiddler on the Roof, and I really love In the Heat of the Night. There's so many Jewison movies that I think are great. But he also made a ton of other movies.
I think Jewison is more in line with like the auteurs as like the original like French critics were kind of talking about him.
Right.
And I think like Ron Howard doesn't really get to that point. Like, because I think like if you look at every Norman Jewison movie, even if you can't see even if he doesn't have necessarily like a distinct style, there's something coming across through them that's like kind of similar.
He balances tone really well.
Yes.
That's what Jewison does.
Yes. And Ron Howard, I wouldn't say this movie is like necessarily like masterfully like has like a good like theme.
No.
Or like tone.
The tone is insane in this movie.
Yes.
It's the sort of like the disparate elements are great.
Yes.
The people being set on fire.
Yeah.
The big moments, him diving across the shaft, diving across the elevator shaft.
Yes.
Like it's so iconic and fascinating and a great moment. You know?
And it feels like the action scenes feel very visceral.
But then there's like the scene with, you know, the family.
Yeah.
And
the family stuff is pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah, and then like a conversation. There's just like moments where it drags, and this movie's it shouldn't be dragging. Like
no,
it should be simplified.
It's 2 hours and 17 minutes. It's like that's kind of like
it has some bloat.
Yeah. Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, I think she brings like an interesting quality to it, and then her character literally leaves.
Yeah,
like just
she's
leaves
just
the
gone.
movie. Yeah, just leaves the movie, and I just don't. It doesn't. Not that like movies have to have something to say, especially like action movies, but like this movie doesn't have anything to say about.
I think this movie is sort of underrated as being like one of those spectacle movies from this era that doesn't have anything to say. That's like pretty well made. Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff from this era that also has nothing to say.
Yeah,
that's a lot worse and a lot stupider. Like this is better than those. It's like a cut above.
Yes,
those, but it's not in the realm of like a classic for me.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is spectacle, which is why you should go see it in 70mm.
Yeah, I think it'll look great in 70
and sound great.
Yes.
Like that quality that Rebecca was talking about, like the mag strip and stuff. Like this is just like movies aren't going to look like this again.
Yeah,
and he doesn't blow those moments, those big moments.
No. The action is the best part of the movie. All the fire shit, it's like crazy. Like
it looks amazing.
Apparently, some firefighters had some issues with this movie because when it comes to actual fires, there's so much smoke you can't see anything.
There's so much smoke. Yeah, that's a good cut. But also the scene that would drive me whatever. I'm not a firefighter. What am I? The thing that drove me crazy was that they were going up to fight a fire and they got in the elevator.
Yeah, that part was fucking insane. That's the one thing you're not supposed to
That is
use.
the one thing I know. Go take the stairs.
Yeah. And also when I guess like that was supposed to be an implication that he was a rookie. But yeah, you're supposed to check the doorknob to make sure it's not hot, or else you get blown up.
So what other movies do we compare this to?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not really other firefighter movies.
Yeah. I was trying to think about that.
It kind of reminds me, I don't know, like maybe those like 70s like spectacle movies.
Yeah.
You know, like Earthquake and shit like that.
Did you like Always? Steven Spielberg's Always?
I didn't watch it.
I kind of like that movie. That is kind of a movie about like they like fight forest fires and stuff.
This is sort of Top Gun-y.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's like, I think probably a big comparison to it.
But again, hot stylist.
Yeah.
Tony Scott.
Joseph Kosinski, you know. But is that his name?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we don't have I feel like superhero movies have pretty much like replaced this type of movie. But I think like there were times where you would just make a giant movie based around like a subject.
So I guess like I don't need to compare this movie to other movies at the time in order to appreciate what it is now. I just like wish that the moments that weren't the big spectacle moments were, if they weren't more visually interesting, they were more thematically interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Or psychologically interesting.
Yes.
Like the important thing about not the interview scene, the interrogation scene in Silence of the Lambs is that we are being drawn into the interiority of our killer through the shot selection, through interesting creative choices, through music. And I just feel like this movie doesn't always do that. It just relies on that Hans Zimmer score to just, you know, it seems almost like a he goes kind of crazy in this movie. The Hans Zimmer score is kind of wild. He's really trying a lot. And it is compelling to listen to, but it's also like, is it carrying the image? Like I did try like turning the music off and watching it and being like, it kind of just looks normal. Like I did find the scene, the action sequences in the buildings to be really compelling, but the moments where like the emotion was supposed to be carrying me with the characters to be quite lacking. And I do think that's the director's fault. I don't think it's just the script.
No, definitely. I mean, I think a better director would have noticed the deficiencies of the script and just like, you could pare that down.
And Apollo 13 is a good example of using a sprawling cast of really great actors who have emotional, moments and an emotional core. You want to talk about with Ron Howard, because we're talking about Ron Howard, the episode of The Studio?
Yes, but first I will say it's kind of terrifying how almost all the actors in this movie have crazy ass blue eyes.
Yeah, no, it's alarming.
As a brown-eyed person, I was kind of like, people look like that. Turn it off.
Yeah, no,
close them a bit.
That's the devil.
Yeah. Yeah, Ron Howard. So he was, if you haven't seen the Apple TV show The Studio, it stars Seth Rogen. He plays like a studio head. It's kind of like a parody. It's like a satire on Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there is an episode dedicated to Ron Howard, pretty much, where I think the reason they pick Ron Howard, I mean, the first episode, it does the thing where actors and directors play themselves. The first episode has Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
And then kind of after that, it's a little bit downhill. Just they got like the best for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they can't really get anyone of that caliber.
That felt like a real Apple TV flex.
Yeah, definitely. I guess to your point. They were like, we'll give you money for the next one, but you got to be in this.
Just help us out.
Yeah.
And Marty seems game.
Yeah. I mean, I always enjoy him acting. And he does a really great job.
He's really funny in that first.
I mean, all the actors.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. All the actors do a really good job on the show. And then in the third episode, the eponymous studio, I forgot what it's called. Do you know? Continental. They're producing Ron Howard joint, and it's like a crime thriller that is like a 45-minute like super like emotional slow part.
Right. So like they love the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
The first 2 hours like is like one of the best movies they've ever seen, and then he has like a very personal, confusing, slow coda at the end. That's all metaphorical.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be that like Ron Howard, it's all like an ode to his dead cousin.
Yeah.
And that they have to try to convince him to cut that scene.
Yes. And no one wants to tell him like this part is bad.
Yeah.
And I think what was just when I watched that show, I watched it with my wife, and she doesn't know anything about Hollywood, and I was just like, it's so funny this is Ron Howard, and she just like didn't get why.
Yeah.
And it's just they're kind of using him as the person to represent like auteurs and like dealing with them. Like I feel like that's kind of like his role on the show.
And what I got from it was that this is, Goldberg and Rogen, who did Superbad, but they also did This Is the End, which is another one that's satirizing Hollywood culture. And they were using our relationship with celebrities as a way to make fun of him. Like in that one, it's Michael Cera who's famously very nice.
Yeah.
Being an asshole, and that all of his niceness is an act.
Yeah.
And for me, it feels like us knowing that everyone likes working with Ron Howard.
Yeah.
That he's a mensch, that his movies are a little bit not personal. It's funny that he decided to make his career capper.
Yeah.
But he's also the type of director who has won Best Director at the Oscars. 2 of his movies have won Best Picture. That is sort of the type of director that would get that respect, but without actually dealing with the personality behind the scenes. That might be difficult. Because Ron Howard would be game to do this.
Yes, definitely.
To make fun of himself a little bit.
Yes.
To throw his hat at him.
Yes. And you also had the opinion that perhaps this was a bit him trying to launder his reputation post Hillbilly Elegy.
That is what I thought, unfortunately. I was like, we're all down on Ron Howard right now.
Yeah.
He has a movie coming out called Eden, which I'm all in on. Because it is the type of movie that I like from Ron Howard, where it's like a big
Spectral.
cast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What were we saying?
Spectral.
Well, no. I think his movies are best. I mean, like, I really like Parenthood, and that's not spectacle. It is like family drama, with humor, but also just like dealing with all these actors who are about to become stars.
Yeah.
Right on the precipice, and then also dealing with some older stars, and like the way they interact with each other. Apollo 13 is kind of similar. And I do think Eden has the ability to be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to launder his reputation a little bit post JD Vance.
Yeah.
Of being like, the reason why JD Vance is at all on the scene is that he made a shitty movie from his book. He's not the only reason.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. Maybe
I
it's
haven't
good.
seen it.
Maybe it's good.
I don't think it's good, Paco.
I think
let's not.
let's not.
Let's not give it that.
But yeah, Ron Howard.
He's like a C tier director.
Yes, and
Maybe a B tier. Maybe I'm being rude.
It's confusing. It's there should be like 7 of him.
There should be 7 of him, and we have him.
Yeah.
Kind of James Mangold is like him. Like, that was the
Yeah.
other director who I was trying to like dig in my brain. James Mangold has not made his Apollo 13 yet.
What does that mean? Like a good movie?
A movie that is as respected,
I mean, Walk the Line is pretty well respected.
but Walk the Line is not Apollo 13.
Yeah.
And none of his movies were as celebrated as A Beautiful Mind.
Logan. But yeah.
No, James
yeah.
Mangold is
I would say
Logan and all those movies like are on the level of the Ron Howard movies. Like
Yeah.
like his Timothy Chalamet movie last year, the Bob Dylan one. Like that is a pretty solid
Complete Unknown.
Complete Unknown. That's the fucking name. I always forget it. But he also made like Night and Day.
Yeah.
James
I
Mangold
forgot
has a
about that.
weird
True
long career.
Yeah, he's been around longer than you expect.
Exactly, and he doesn't have a style.
Yeah. But I think he has more of like the thematic unity and
Thematic unity, interest in certain themes.
he has more of
good at working with actors. Famously,
I think he has more of a vision for the movies, even if like it might not necessarily be like a style, but he has like there's a cohesion to them that I think like depending on the Ron Howard movie may or may not be there.
But if you find out that James Mangold's on a movie, are you excited?
No.
If you find out that Ron Howard's on a movie, are you excited?
no,
No.
that's where you're basing off.
That's just like that style of director where I'm like, I don't think this is going to be I don't think this is going to be a disaster. It won't be a disaster. If they sign this person, I don't think it'll be a disaster. Is Mangold's I didn't see the fucking movie. His Indiana Jones, is that a disaster?
I think people like it for what it is.
Okay.
I think the issue isn't from him; it's from the idea of it.
Yeah. But that's more a Hollywood greenlight issue. Anyway. And I like that Howard is making stuff like Eden. I like that he's doing a weird animated movie that is going to go through Netflix. Like I'm fine with that. Like
I'm excited to watch the Thai cave diver movie.
yeah, that one that never came out or whatever.
I think it only came out on streaming.
Yeah. So I'm not dismissing this movie based on that. I think this movie has we've been going on for too long. Let's wrap it up. Is there anything more about this movie you want to talk about?
Okay, yes, I do want to talk about the ending.
Yeah.
Because so the reveal that Scott Glenn had been starting the fires leads to, after Scott Glenn dies, and then Kurt Russell also dies, spoiler alert. Kurt makes Billy Baldwin promise that he won't tell anyone that Scott Glenn was behind the fires. Yeah. And I just don't
buy that.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. I guess like the point was like, it would just like cast more negative shade on us and like we're supposed to be a team. And I don't know. Something about it just like rubbed me the wrong way. Where I was just like, it doesn't.
Well, they take down the one who's alive, right? It's the alderman.
Yeah. That's a really cool scene. That's in a mansion in Hinsdale.
Nice. There's that. Yeah, there's actually a lot of shooting that happened in that area, the Hinsdale area. One of my coworkers told me that he grew up around that area.
Oh, cool.
And his mom did. And that a lot of the Backdraft stuff happened around that area. The ending for me, the Kurt Russell death scene doesn't work.
No, definitely not.
Don't kill that character off. I think that's stupid.
I think they wanted to have the big funeral march, which is cool.
I like that a lot.
They
That's a lot of firefighters.
Yes, Daly Jr. allowed them to just like cut off Milwaukee, or not Milwaukee, just Michigan, I think.
Yeah, Michigan.
For like 5 to 6 hours, and apparently it caused there was a Bears game that day, and it caused a lot of issues.
That's awesome.
That scene is really good.
Yeah. I like the scene where they pull out from the Chinatown fire station.
Yes, I mean just like all the Chicago stuff.
There's really good Chicago stuff. This is a good Chicago movie. Like,
and then the final movie ends with Billy Baldwin like still a firefighter, and that final shot of the city.
Yeah.
From the west, that's awesome. Like as the sun is setting, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But I just don't. I guess like I don't get a sense of the whole movie. A big part of it is like firefighters are important, and like they're a team of guys, and they all work together. And I just don't get a sense of like the other team players at all. Like they don't have personalities.
I wish that we had like Top Gun, like we just like got to know the people in the fire department a little more.
And it's because there's
Scott
too many.
Glenn we know, but
but there's just like too many plot lines going on.
Yeah.
That you kind of want just to hang out with the firefighters. Like those are kind of the best scenes.
I wish there was more hanging out in the fire station
and more of getting to know them.
Like I liked the scene the kind of eerie scene where Scott Glenn was showering.
Yeah.
Like that shot was cool, and I wish there was more, maybe like 2 or 3 scenes before in that same space.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like the scene where they're all like making fun of each other.
Yeah.
Like there needed to be that with a little more personality. So like the way it was executed was fine, but not enough for me to care about the characters. So that when the young guy gets blown up, the way he looks is gnarly and cool.
Yeah. But like you don't feel anything.
Care.
Yeah.
No.
And like I remember that scene started and I was like, that guy's gonna die. Like you just like he has like dead energy.
He's
like,
got
already.
dead energy. Yeah, there's a lot of other cool scenes. I really like the scene in the Uptown Theater.
Yeah.
Where that guy gets backdrafted.
Yes, that was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
All the backdraft stuff is cool.
Yeah.
Do you understand what a backdraft is?
No. Do you want to describe?
No, I was just I've like read about it. I've tried to look up the definition.
It's where it causes like sort of like a tunnel of.
It's like it has something to do with if you are a scientist or if you're a firefighter, please explain it to us. You can email us at chicagopodfilmcast@gmail.com. But I think it's like there's a bunch of like smoke and gas that is flammable.
Yeah.
But there's no oxygen. So it like once oxygen like appears, an explosion will happen.
Got it.
But it's these moments where like there's like a bunch of built up energy.
Right.
But they don't really explain it in the movie, or maybe they don't do a good job, or maybe I just don't understand science. That might not be a big part
that's
of it.
not. That's Walter's fault. I do think that like,
but all the backdraft explosions are cool.
Yeah, and I do like the weird energy of Robert De Niro walking around explaining the
chemical
trypticide or whatever it's called.
I also like the scene where he just starts a fire.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, like those scenes were great. There's like good moments in this movie. It's such a big. What are some final thoughts for you, and what would you give the movie?
I did want to talk about one other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The final thing in the movie is they just show text where it says how many firefighters there are in the United States.
It is so weird.
It's so strange. And I guess they were just trying to like...
It's a dedication to the firefighters.
Yeah, just be like, this is important. Why doesn't it just end like, this is dedicated to
This is dedicated to the blah, blah, blah amount of... Even if you want to name the fucking number, it looks like someone did their... It sounds like someone did their research. And like,
someone's like, we need to
use this.
Yeah. Because it's not like... They could have been like, this many firefighters die.
Yeah.
Something like that. But instead, it's just like, here's how many there are.
Or this is the amount of Chicago firefighters.
Yeah, yeah. Instead, it's just like, this is how many firefighters there are.
Dedicated to the men and women who've given their lives to stop the fire. Like,
yeah.
That's fine. That's enough. Yeah. Do you remember that the Nick Cage World Trade Center movie? He plays a firefighter in that, right?
Yes, I didn't watch it, but...
The Oliver Stone one?
Yeah.
It's got stuff.
It's got firefighters.
Do you remember the the Futurama episode about arson? The when
No, I don't remember that.
Bender, where they become a fire department and Bender.
Barely.
Everyone thinks Bender's setting the fires to put them out.
No, I don't remember.
That's a good episode.
But yeah, other than that, I had one other thought. I thought it'd be cool if there's a prequel, Heat style prequel of Robert De Niro trying to catch Donald Sutherland.
Yeah,
That
I would watch that.
Yeah.
That's what the fucking movie should have been.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting ideas in the movie. And I guess to wrap up, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of interesting ideas of the movie. I love the Chicago stuff. The Chicago filmmaking is great. Most of the actors do a great job. Billy Baldwin, I like him, but I don't think he has enough of a personality to make up for the defects in his character.
Yeah.
The movie just juggles too much, and I don't think that Howard has like the right hand to make it all cohere at the end, but it's still very fun to watch.
Yeah.
And if you should go see it at the Music Box.
Mm-hmm. Spectacle.
Yeah, it's a really great spectacle, and I would probably give it 4 stars.
Nice.
Kind of like the Chicago flag.
I would say, I really love the use of Chicago in this movie. Like it captures the city at a time that I have a lot of nostalgia for, from right before I was born. But just then the idea of the city being captured from all these different angles, the north side being married to the south side, being married to the west side, a lot of the use of the different parts of the city, I think it's gorgeous. The spectacle's big, and the characters don't work for me. We didn't watch the sequel.
No, maybe we'll do an episode on the sequel.
Maybe we'll do an episode
Billy
on the
Baldwin and Donald Sutherland
Return.
both came out.
So we don't know how they've...
And it's filmed in Romania.
Romania, Chicago.
Yes.
But just to wrap up my thoughts, I do think, that the things that work about this movie work very well. The tone never completely coheres for me. And so I would probably give it 4 stars, kind of like the flag.
Yeah. And the number of fires in this movie. I've just made that up. That
No,
sounds
there's
right
more.
there. You think so?
Yeah.
Is that peanuts?
Where can people find us?
This movie?
Where can people find us?
Oh, you can find us on you can find this movie at the Music Box. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, at our email at chicagopodfilmcast@gmail.com. You can find Jeremy at the Music Box. You can accost him. You can ask him to sign your fire hoses.
Yes, you can. I will sign any firehouses you bring in.
Yes. And thank you for listening.
Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices.
Doors closing.
Do 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 do. Okay, got it up. Okay, ready?